What's up, everybody? This is the Hedge Mage, and we are back again for another Popper video. Today, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite decks to pilot. I've been playing this deck for a while now, and if you are looking for a fun red deck to play, but you don't really want to go the aggro route like Koldatha Red does, this deck might just be for you. So what I'm going to be talking to you about today is Pinger Burn. So, but before we go any further, if you want to support the channel, if you could leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate the support. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at what I've been running for Burn. So, I have right here, I got 4 copies of Kessig Flame Breather and 4 copies of Thermo Alchemist. So I'm only running these 8 creatures. I have experimented a bit with running other pingers, like I believe it's Firebrand Archer, um, or running something like Dwarven Forge Chanter, just as 2 of in the deck. I ended up cutting those cards mostly due to the fact that I found myself in a position a lot of times where what I need to do in order to win is top deck any non-creature spell, which in our case are all instants and sorceries. And if I top deck a land or a creature, I am going to lose, as we usually don't have much of a defense against anyone trying to win through combat damage. So that's generally the things that we need to get instants and sorceries off the top. So I have cut the pingers down to just 8, and I've honestly been enjoying it quite a bit. So now let's get into the instants and sorceries that we're running. So I'm running 1 copy of Riftbolt. Definitely a bit of a pet card here. I just run 1 up. It's not really great mid to late game, but it is a fantastic turn 1 play. So just got 1 in the deck. Then we got 2 copies of End the Festivities. This can sweep the board against a lot of people with 1/1s. It also can enable a couple of our spells as it deals 1 damage to players as well. So that is definitely very key for the deck. I'm also running 4 copies of Lava Spike, which is a great card. Been playing that in Burn for many years, various iterations of Burn. And then I got 4 copies of Skewer the Critics. This we are hoping to cast for spectacle cost every single time. That has been pretty consistent. There's been some rare instances where I have had to just hard cast it. That never feels great, but sometimes that's what you gotta do. And then I got 4 copies of Chain Lightning. And I am very happy I was able to pick up some printings from Legends, especially these Italian ones too. They seem to have a little bit of a darker pigment to them on the card. And I might try and upgrade to a full playset of the Italian ones at some point, but do love that I was able to pick up some old Chain Lightnings. And then I also have 4 copies of Reckless Impulse and 4 copies of Ren's Resolve. These are basically 8 copies of cards that do the same thing. This is kind of where the deck really shines and where it all comes together. What these allow us to do is basically never run out of things to play, and which has been one of the big issues with a lot of more conventional burn decks, is that sometimes you just run out of spells to play. Especially after mulliganing. If you start with a 5 card hand, it can be pretty tough, but these really smooth out those games. It also allows you to play burn a little bit differently. Um, you can blow up threats on the board and not totally lose your momentum with these, because these allow you to find more cards to play. So but that is definitely kind of a thing about piloting this deck, is you really have to know when to deal with their board and when to start going face, because you can afford to work to blow up their creatures a little bit and play more like a mid-range grindy deck, which is one of the things I really love about this deck. And then we got 4 copies of Lightning Bolt, staple and burn for since basically forever. Um, then we also got 4 copies of Needle Drop. This lets us draw more cards, and we can chain a lot of things sometimes with this card, and I really love playing it. I also got 2 copies of Lava Dart. This has a 0 mana flashback cost. We do have to sacrifice a land, but that's not a really big deal, especially towards the end of the game when we're just trying to get as many triggers off of our pingers as possible. And then I'm also running 2 copies of Fire Blast. This is a bit of a haymaker of the deck. We can just win out of nowhere if we top deck one of these or just save one till the end of the game. So that is pretty fun. I also got 1 copy of Cast into the Fire. This is I'm kind of pre-boarded against Affinity. We can also deal with fairies and other creatures with 1 toughness with this card. So the fact that it has 2 modes is pretty great. And then in the land base, I'm on a 17 land build, so we got 1 copy of Forgotten Cave. This is just a cycling land that lets us see more of our deck, especially if we are flooding out. It can be very useful. I don't see a lot of decks running it. Some decks are just purely mountains, which is definitely, a choice. Um, so I guess you could say it's a bit of a pet card as well, as I do love running my pet cards. And then we got 16 basic mountains. Also, I'm big fan of these uh, grayscale full arts from Midnight Hunt. They are just absolutely gorgeous cards. So very happy to have them in the deck. Is what's more fun than customizing your Magic decks that you love playing? All right, and then let's take a look at the sideboard. So in the sideboard, I got 2 copies of Flaring Pain. This is a really great card to bring in against, anyone running things like a Moment's Peace, or if you think they're going to be playing Prismatic Strands, definitely something you want to side in to work against that plan. Prismatic Strands is the main one. Moment's Peace only does combat damage, so we do swing in with our. If they don't have any creatures on the board, I will swing in with my Kessig Flame Breathers, so I may want to tempo them out a bit if they try and Moment's Peace me for whatever reason. Sometimes it is maybe one of the final pieces of damage that I need to win, so definitely something you're going to want to bring in if you're seeing any of those cards. And I'm also running 3 copies of Tormod's Crypt. This helps us fight the terror decks, as they can be a huge problem for us since they completely outclass our creatures, and we can only take 5 damage so many times, and if they get an unexpected fangs on one, it's pretty much game over. Also running 2 copies of Electrickery. This is really good against Koldatha Red, as well as White Weenie in response to like a Guardian's Pledge if they have a bunch of 1/1 birds. So the fact that we can do it on instant speed is really good. It is a great card for the deck. We can also just blow things up for 1 mana if they have 1 toughness. So this card is something that I have recently added, especially since now lots of Koldatha decks are going with 4 Bushwhackers. So I really want to sweep their board when they play that with its kicker costs. Also running 3 more copies of Cast in the Fire, bringing this in against fairies, bringing this in against affinity so we can slow them down. And then I also have 4 copies of Pyroblast. This is also a very versatile card for the deck. This we bring on against anybody running blue, especially because they're going to be having counter spells. We want to be able to interact with them. Not to mention, since the rulings on Pyroblast, we are able to target our own spells if we need to cast 1 or 2 more spells to get a couple more triggers from our pingers to win the game or just get more damage through. And then we got 1 copy of Mind Collapse. And this we can use to blow up any creature that has a toughness greater than 3 and up to 5. which can be really useful against things like Gurmag, Angler, or Cryptic Serpent. So kind of rough against Tolarian Terrors just because of the ward. The ward is definitely something very challenging to deal with. However, we can sacrifice a mountain instead of paying the mana cost, so it can be a free spell, which I love to. I love sacrificing my mountains in order to cast spells. It is one of my favorite things to do with the deck. And that's the whole deck, guys. Of course, I got a link in the description with the full list if you want to check it out on your own. That is going to do it for today's video, though. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time.